Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about a book called Shekel Hakodesh. I used AI to give me some a breakdown about this book. Let's see what it comes up with. This report provides a comprehensive examination of Shekel Hakodesh, a significant metrical work by the 12th century Jewish scholar Joseph Kimchi, situating it with the broader landscape of Jewish ethical literature, particularly the Mussar tradition. The analysis clarifies the distinct identity of Kimchi's work, differentiated from other texts with similar titles, and delves into its core themes, philosophical underpinnings, and foundation with Solomon ibn Gabriel's Mimcha Hapaninim. Furthermore, the report explores two other pivotal Mussar texts, Solomon ibn Gibral's The Improvement of the Moral Qualities and Rabbeinu Asher ben Yechiel the Rosh's Orchat Chaim LaRoche, alongside the anonymous 15th century Orchat Tzadikim. It highlights the structural innovations, practical guidance for daily life, and the collective influence on the historical and contemporary Mussar movement. The report concludes by identifying various media through which these foundational ethical works are directly accessed and studied today, underscoring their continued relevance in shaping Jewish thought and practice. Introduction: Unveiling Shekel Hakodesh. Authorship and historical context: Joseph Kimchi of the 12th century in Provence. Shekel Hakodesh, the Holy Shekel, stands as a notable metrical work authored by Joseph Kimchi, a distinguished medieval Jewish scholar and poet. Kimchi's life, spanning approximately from 1105 to 1170 CE, was predominantly centered in Provence, France. His location from southern Spain around 1146 was not a matter of choice, but a direct consequence of severe religious persecutions initiated by the Almohades, compelling him to seek refuge and settle in Narbonne. This forced migration is more than a biographical detail. It represents a critical historical event that significantly influenced the transmission and evolution of Jewish intellectual traditions. Kimchi's displacement inadvertently facilitated the transfer of sophisticated Judeo-Spanish philosophical and ethical approaches into the burgeoning Jewish intellectual centers of European Ashkenaz. The description of Kimchi as a mediator between Jewish Judeo-Spanish culture and European Judaism underscores this dynamic, illustrating how periods of societal upheaval, while challenging, can paradoxically serve as powerful catalysts for the cross-pollination and enrichment of intellectual and literary traditions across different geographical and cultural spheres. Beyond his poetic contributions, Kimchi was widely recognized for his profound expertise in Hebrew grammar and biblical commentary. His enduring legacy is further cemented by his role as the father of the esteemed scholars Moses and David Kimchi, who themselves became prominent figures in Jewish intellectual history. The intellectual environment of Hachmei Provence, where Kimchi resided, was considerably shaped by the neighboring Spanish Jewish community, reflecting a vibrant cultural exchange of ideas and methodology. Nature of the work: a metrical collection of religious poems and ethical principles. Shekel Hakodesh is distinctly characterized as a collection of religious poems composed in Hebrew, meticulously structured to adhere to a specific matter. This metrical form was a deliberate and strategic choice, likely enhancing its memorability and suitability for communal recitation and study. The thematic theme of these poems is broad, encompassing fundamental religious concepts such as fervent praise for God, the imperative of repentance, and the paramount importance of adhering to Jewish law. Beyond these foundational religious tenets, the work functions explicitly as a moral book, delving into specific virtues such as modesty and independence. The repeated emphasis on Shekel Hakodesh being a metrical work and a collection of religious poems points to a deeper strategic choice beyond mere aesthetic preference. In medieval Jewish education and spiritual practice, metrical compositions and lyrical poems, Piyutim, were frequently employed as effective pedagogical tools. Their rhythmic and rhythming structures facilitated memorization, encouraged communal engagement through chanting or recitation, and fostered a more emotional connection to the complex religious concepts. This deliberate choice of literary form would have been made intricate ethical principles more accessible and practical for a wider audience, thereby contributing significantly to its significant contribution to Hebrew poetry and its enduring study by scholars. This highlights how the formal aspects of literature can directly serve and enhance pedagogical and spiritual objectives within a religious tradition. The work is esteemed as a significant contribution to both Hebrew poetry and the broader canon of Jewish literature, offering invaluable insights into religious beliefs, daily practices, and literary traditions prevalent in medieval Jewish communities in France. Clarifying identity, distinguishing Joseph Kimchi's Shekel Hakodesh from other texts with similar titles. It is imperative to differentiate Joseph Kimchi's Shekel Hakodesh from other works that share the same or similar titles. Most notably, Sefer Shekel Hakodesh by Moses de Leon. The existence of multiple significant texts bearing the same name or very similar titles as Shekel Hakodesh poses a critical challenge in historical and literary scholarship. Its harmony necessitates meticulous disambiguation and to prevent misattribution of scholarship, thematic content, influences, and historical context. Joseph Kimchi's Shekel Hakodesh is fundamentally an ethical treatise, serving as a Hebrew translation of Solomon ibn Gabriel's original Arabic work, Milcha Paninim. Meticulously rendered into a metrical form, its content is centered on moral maxims and aphorisms. In stark contrast, Moses de Leon's Sefer Shekel Hakodesh, composed in 1292, is a seminal Kabbalistic text. This work undertakes a rigorous analysis of the concepts found within the Zohar, specifically delving into the Sephirot divine emanations and the intricate process of existentiation in the universe. It explores the mystical interpretation of ritual laws and is not merely an academic nicety, but is vital for maintaining accuracy in scholarly analysis and for understanding the divergent yet sometimes parallel trajectories of ethical and mystical thought within Jewish tradition. Core themes and philosophical foundations. Analysis of key ethical and religious themes. Shekel Hakodesh is rich in religious themes, including fervent praise for God, the call to repentance, and the moral paramount importance of adhering to Jewish law. It is explicitly identified as a moral book that delves into specific virtues such as modesty and independence. The core themes of the work are deeply rooted in the principles of practical ethical living, serving as a guide for individuals seeking to cultivate a virtuous life within a Jewish framework. While Jewish ethical teachings are often primarily understood through the lens of halacha, rule-based law, Shekel Hakodesh, alongside other foundational Muslim literature, prominently features virtue-based ethics. The text's emphasis on cultivating inner modesty and independence and other moral maxims illustrates the sophisticated approach within medieval Jewish thought. This approach sought to complement external observance of commandments with the internal refinement of character traits midot. It signifies the holistic understanding of religious life where adherence to divine law is inextricably linked with the cultivation of inner moral excellence, suggesting that true religious practice encompasses both outward action and inward transformation. The philosophical articulation of Jewish faith principles within its poetic structure. Joseph Kimchi's Shekel Hakodesh uniquely articulates the principles of Jewish faith from a philosophical perspective, employing a poetic and picturesque way. This demonstrates a deliberate effort to make abstract philosophical concepts more accessible and more engaging through the power of literary expression. The work's structural foundation as a metrical translation of Milcha Paninim further emphasizes the intentional choice of poetic form as a vehicle for conveying profound ethical and philosophical content. The cultivation of Shekel Hakodesh as explaining Jewish faith principles philosophically in a poetic and picturesque way illuminates a crucial aspect of medieval Jewish intellectual history, particularly Al-Andalus. This era was marked by the rich synthesis where philosophical inquiry, often influenced by Neoplatonism and Aristotelianism, found expression through poetic forms. Figures like Solomon ibn Gabriel, whose Milcha Paninim is the source of Shekel Hakodesh and Judah Halevi, utilize poetry not merely for liturgical purposes, but as a potent medium for conveying complex philosophical ideas. This suggests that poetry serves as a vital mechanism for popularizing and internalizing philosophical ethics, effectively bridging a gap between abstract thought and the lived religious experience of the Jewish community. Its relationship to Mincha Paninim, Solomon ibn Gabriel's choice of pearls as its source material highlights the transmission of ethical maxims. Shekel Hakodesh is explicitly identified as Joseph Kimchi's Hebrew translation of the Arabic work Mincha Paninim, which is attributed to Solomon ibn Gabriel. Mincha Paninim itself, its character is described as a classic collection of ethical maxims divided into 17 behavioral categories. It is a compilation of proverbs and moral reflections, many of which originated from Arabic sources. This direct textual lineage means that Shekel Hakodesh played a crucial role in the transmission of Ibn Gabriel's ethical ideas, as well as broader Arabic ethical traditions into the Hebrew literary sphere. This in turn facilitates the integration into European Jewish ethical thought. The foundational relationship between Shekel Hakodesh and Solomon ibn Gabriel's Arabic Mincha Paninim reveals a significant aspect of medieval Jewish intellectual history, the dynamic cross-cultural exchange of ethical wisdom. Ibn Gabriel's Kitab Isa Ish Ashlak, the improvement of the moral qualities, also originally in Judaic Arabic, further exemplifies this trend. This demonstrates that Jewish ethical literature was not an isolated tradition, but actively engaged with and assimilated ideas from the broader Islamic intellectual world. These ideas were then translated into Hebrew, making them accessible to a Jewish audience. This process of intellectual absorption and adaptation enriched Jewish thought by integrating universal ethical principles within specific Jewish theology and cultural frameworks, highlighting the continuous process of intellectual evolution. Shekel Hakodesh within the tapestry of Jewish ethical literature Musa, the improvement of the moral qualities. Tikkun Midot HaNefesh by Solomon ibn Gabriel. Authorship to 11th century Donna's context and Neoplatonic philosophical underpinnings. The seminal work was authored by Solomon ibn Gabriel circa 1021 to 1070 CE in Saragossa al-Andalus and was composed in 1045 CE. Ibn Gabriel was a preeminent Jewish poet and philosopher deeply rooted in the Neoplatonic tradition. His philosophical contribution, particularly his doctrine on universal hylopomorphism, the idea of all things, including soul and intellect, are comprised of matter and form, and his profound emphasis on divine will are most extensively explored in his Fons Vitae, Source of Life. Despite his philosophical depth in Fons Vitae, it was largely overlooked by the Jewish intellectual community for centuries. However, Ibn Gabriel ingeniously disseminated his philosophical ideas through his poetry, most notably in Keter Malchut, Royal Crown, which functions as a philosophical treatise in poetic form. His ethical treatise, The Improvement of the Moral Qualities, Kitab Isa al-Akhlaq in Arabic, translated into Hebrew as Sefer Tikkun Midot HaNefesh, was composed in 1045. This work uniquely presents ethical principles with a degree of independence from strictly religious dogma, drawing insights from both Jewish and philosophical traditions. This assertion that Ibn Ezra's The Improvement of Moral Qualities presents ethical principles independently of religious dogma while integrating Jewish and Greek philosophy is a critical observation. This approach suggests a conscious effort to establish a universal, rational foundation of ethics, for ethics potentially aiming for broader intellectual appeal or to demonstrate the inherent truth of moral principles beyond specific religious dictates. However, the accompanying information that his philosophical works like Fons Vitae were largely ignored by the Jewish community because they contain no reference to the laws and scriptures highlights a significant tension. This indicates that for the Jewish audiences, ethical and philosophical works needs to be explicitly grounded in Torah and Halacha to achieve widespread acceptance and lasting influence. This causal relationship between the perceived secular and non-traditional nature of his philosophical works and the limited Jewish reception, contrasted with the later acceptance of its ethical work within Mussar, is a key indicator of the intellectual priorities and reception mechanism of the time. Detailed examination of its unique structure, 5 parts, each corresponding to one of the 5 senses, and the moral qualities associated with each. The treatise is systematically organized into 5 main parts, each comprising 4 chapters. Its most distinctive organizational principle is its division by the senses in which they pertain. Each of the 5 senses serves as a thematic lens, representing a cross-section of moral qualities. For instance, the sense of sight, considered the most elevated of the senses, is explored in relation to traits such as pride, identified as its ultimate unrefinement, meekness, modesty, and impudence. The work is lauded for its highly tabular and empirical manner of study to the sensual, and for offering a rational manner of organizing what could have seemed unclassifiable. Furthermore, the text establishes a correlation between virtues and vices, the external human senses, the classic humors, and the 4 elemental forces of the sublunar world: air, water, and fire. Air, water, earth, and fire. Ibn Gabriel's groundbreaking approach to structuring ethical development around the 5 senses is a profound methodological innovation. Rather than simply emulating virtues, he provides a systematic and almost empirical framework for self-analysis and improvement by linking internal moral states directly to external sensory experiences. This highly tabular empirical manner suggests a proto-philosophical or phenomenological understanding of human behavior, recognizing that our perceptions and interactions with the physical world profoundly shape our character. This is a significant departure from purely abstract philosophical discussion of virtues, offering a concrete and actionable method for tikkun midot, self-rectification, thereby rendering the aspect content of moral improvement tangible and practically achievable. And the structure of the improvement of moral qualities by sense, and corresponding moral qualities, virtual vices. Sight, pride, ultimately unrefinement, meekness, modesty, and impudence. Hearing, details not explicitly listed in primary sources, generally linking to sound transmission of teachings. The improvement of the moral quality is widely regarded as a precursor of rabbinical ethical literature. Its influence resonated deeply within Sephardi communities, leading to developments such as the Ladino publication of Shevet Mussar, the Rod of Rebuke. Crucially, it directly influenced the anonymous Orchat Tzadikim, which explicitly follows the order of the improvement of the moral qualities. Its enduring significance within the Mussar tradition is further evidenced by Rabbi Yisrael Salanta, the founder and 19th century Mussar movement, who specifically arranged the republication of Tikkun Midas HaNefesh, signaling its continued relevance and foundational status. Despite the initial largely ignored reception of Ibn Gabriel's more abstract philosophical works by the Jewish community, his ethical treatise, The Improvement of the Moral Qualities, exerted a significant and lasting influence, particularly on subsequent Muslim literature like Orchat Tzadikim. This indicates a critical distinction in the reception of his different literary outputs. His metaphysical philosophy might have been too detached from traditional Jewish textual frameworks for widespread adoption, but its practical, systematic approach to ethical self-improvement, especially in its unique sensory framework, resonated profoundly. This methodology was then adapted and transmitted by later generations, suggesting that its practical application and semantic approach to ethical development, rather than solely the philosophical underpinnings, were highly valued and became a cornerstone of the evolving Mussar tradition. Orchat Chaim wrote by Rabbeinu Asher Yechiel the Rosh. Authorship 13th to 14th century, violent contact and its purpose as ethical instruction to his sons. This foundational work was authored by Rabbeinu Asher ben Yechiel, widely known as the Rosh, in circa 1250 to 1327 CE, and was composed in writing between approximately 1293 and 1327 CE. The Rosh was a towering figure in Jewish law, renowned as a prominent Torah commentator, legal decisor, posek, and a leading Baal HaTosfot. His monumental work, Hilchos Avos, is so impactful that it was chosen by Rabbi Yosef Karo as one of the three primary sources for his authoritative legal code, Beis Yosef and Shulchan Aruch. Orach Chaim was specifically conceived as an essay on ethics, intended as a set of instructions to his sons on how to lead an ethical life. The Rosh's unique approach as both a preeminent posek, whose legal decisions form the bedrock of the Shulchan Aruch, and the author of a deeply personal ethical treatise, Orach Chaim, for his sons, reveals a crucial aspect of medieval Jewish rabbinic thought. This dual role demonstrates that a major halachic authority, ethical instruction, was not a peripheral concern, but an intrinsic and indispensable component of religious life, essential for imbuing Jewish law with its proper spirit and meaning. It reinforces the ethical Jewish practice principle of derech eretz, proper ethical spiritual behavior. I've lost the place here. Ethical instruction not of peripheral concern, but an intrinsic and indispensable component of religious life, essential for imbuing Jewish law with its proper spirit and meaning. It reinforces the classic Jewish principle that derech eretz, proper ethical behavior, precedes Torah study and observance. This causal link between his unparalleled legal authority and his commitment to ethical pedagogy highlights a holistic view of Judaism where legal adherence and moral cultivation are mutually reinforcing. Elaboration on its practical guidance for daily Jewish life and cultivation of inner qualities. Orach Chaim is widely regarded as a roadmap to Judaism and a practical calendar of principles designed for daily study and application. The work meticulously encapsulates key Torah laws governing the daily life of the Jew and delineates fundamental modes of behavior that he must scrupulously observe in order to preserve, refine, and cultivate in a pure, ethical, and moral soul. Beyond mere actions, the text provides guidance on how to think and what are the proper attitudes to life the committed Jew must have, emphasizing the internal dimension of ethical living. It is notably structured into 7 day sections, implicitly suggesting a weekly cycle of study and reflection, making a comprehensive ethical guidance manageable for daily engagement. The characterization of Orach Chaim as a diary for Jewish life and a catalog of principles further restructured further reinforced its structure into 7 parts or day sections, reveals a highly systematic and eminently practical approach to ethical cultivation. The daily or weekly framework transforms the often abstract pursuit of virtue into conduct, actionable routine. And there's a table here. We go through each day. For example, on day 2, cultivating inequality, spiritual practice, humility, truthfulness, reverence for God's name, overcoming envy, mindful speech, daily confession, preparing for death, good association, self-perception, constant awareness of God, vow in prayer, consistent Torah study. Let's say any more. I think I'll leave that for today, and I'll just read the conclusion. The examination of Shekel Hakodesh and its related Musar text reveals a rich and continuous tradition of Jewish ethical thought spanning centuries. Joseph Kimchi Shekel Hakodesh serves as a testament to the cross-cultural transmission of ethical wisdom, translating and metrically representing Ibn Gabriel's Mimcha Apaninim to a new audience. This process of adaptation highlights the dynamic nature of Jewish intellectual history, where external influences were absorbed and integrated into Jewish framework. Solomon ibn Gabriel, the improvement of moral quality, stands out for its innovative, sense-based approach to character development, providing a systematic methodology for self-rectification that profoundly influenced subsequent Musar literature. Despite the initial limited reception of his more philosophical works within Jewish circles due to their lack of direct scriptural references, this practical utility, and systematic nature of his ethical treatise ensured its enduring legacy. Rabbeinu Asher ben Yechia's Orchat Chaim LaRoche demonstrates the holistic integration of halacha and ethics within major rabbinic authority. It's highly practical, day-by-day guidance transformed abstract ethical principles into a tangible roadmap for daily Jewish life, leading to its institutionalization as a core text in traditional yeshivas. This signifies a recognition that ethical cultivation is not merely supplementary but fundamental to religious observance. Finally, Orchat Tzaddikim, synthesizing insights of earlier masters, continues to serve as a vital guide for character refinement. Its enduring popularity and widespread study, supported by modern tradition, translation, and digital media, underscore the timeless relevance of these classic Musar works. Collectively, these texts offer a profound and actionable framework for personal and communal ethical growth, demonstrating that the pursuit of moral excellence remains a central and evolving endeavor within Jewish tradition. This continued accessibility of these works through various media ensures these teachings remain vibrant and impactful for contemporary generations seeking to cultivate virtue and meaningful lives. Thank you for listening and wish you all the best. Bye.